to Ideas for Impact, where we explore all things sustainability, impact, and business. In this video, we're going to be talking about one of the most critical and often overlooked aspects of sustainability and the work we do at Impact. And that is, how do you start measuring social impact? For businesses of all sizes, knowing your impact isn't just about checking a box. It's really about understanding how your decisions affect the environment, your community, and individuals, and, your bottom line as well. We're going to break down what it actually means to measure impact and why it matters and should matter to you. We're going to tell you a couple tools that can get you started on doing this in a practical, meaningful, and achievable way, because that is very, very important. We want you on this path to impact. And whether you're a small startup or an established business, this is going to be important for you. Look, measuring social impact can seem extremely daunting, especially because it involves quantifying change in people's lives or in society, a task that is fundamentally very complex. It's nuanced and it's subjective to where you are standing. So we're hopefully going to go through the essential steps to start this process and how to do it in a way that is meaningful for you and the change that you actually want to have. So let's start off by actually stating the big elephant in the room and the fact that measuring impact is notoriously challenging. Why? Because it often involves quantifying, like I said, change in complex social, environmental, or economic systems, or a combination thereof, where there are multiple factors that are interacting. And unlike financial metrics that can be very straightforward or linear, that provide us very clear, quantifiable outcomes, social and environmental impact requires measurements that sometimes look at intangible elements like improvements in well-being, shifts in community health, or the reduction of inequality. And those don't have straightforward metrics, especially when we think about things like outputs, outcomes, and then long-term impacts and meaningful systems change. The metrics in any of those areas can be very different. Additionally, isolating the specific effect of a single activity, of a single product or service or initiative from a business can be extremely difficult because we know social outcomes are often influenced by a variety of external factors that are beyond one company's control, right? And even when we look at environmental impact, that the same can be said about that. There are typically multiple groups working towards the same goal. There are different factors that affect that outcome. And so no company can be held responsible for just, that social outcome or that environmental outcome. And this complexity really demands, thinking about impact in a more cohesive and systems way. And this is why we want to employ frameworks to help us understand what it is that we're talking about and how to approach it. And also recognizing that this isn't an end game, that this is a journey, and we want to make sure that we're on the journey for the right reasons, and that we have the tools to be actually able to to reach the impact we seek. We need to have patience. We need to have a long-term perspective of that. And in order to reach that impact, we actually need to be able to identify what we're measuring and then measure it. So when you're just starting out and thinking about social impact and how to measure it, the most important and sort of basic step, and it might seem so basic, is to be able to identify what it is that you're going to measure. Now, that can seem simple, but it's actually more complex than you think. Because at the end of the day, as we said, social impact is complex, and it isn't about tracking everything. It's about being able to capture the specific ways that your business aims to make a difference and contribute to this larger impact in the world. And of course, this needs to start with a clear vision and well-defined outcomes that you're seeking. Defining the outcomes that you seek actually sets the stage for a more structured approach to impact measurement, which is good. You want that. Because once you know what change you want to create, you can actually start selecting specific indicators that will tell you whether that change is happening, whether you're on that path, whether there's progress. Indicators are quantifiable signs of progress that can help us track outcomes over time. And so these are important. They can also help us understand how, as a business, you're doing against impact and revenue or profitability to sort of allow for that kind of paradigm measurement. So once you have, your outcomes and hopefully some indicators, the next step is really to establish a baseline that you're working from. And a baseline, in many ways, it's not just an impact, is really just a snapshot of where things are before your activities start or initiate, right? It's really a really important reference point that you're going to measure against so that you can be able to measure change, be able to compare the before and after. And so at its core, really, impact measurement is about having that clarity. It is about having that clarity around what it is that you're working towards and being able to articulate it and share it from a both qualitative and quantitative perspective. It helps you define what success looks like and helps you understand the pathways to get there, right? Because without the pathway to get there, you're not going to be able to get there. And so how do we, mobilize your work in impact? We utilize, which we've talked about a lot before. We're going to link up the tool and link up some other videos. We love Theory of Change. It is an incredibly powerful tool and process to help everybody and anybody really think about the impact that they want to achieve in the world and then how to get there. It helps us map out the logical relationships between the work that we're doing and the outcomes that we seek as a company, as a fund, as an organization, even sometimes as an individual. For example, if you're running some kind of a skills program within your company, the Theory of Change could actually help you articulate how these programs or this program leads to actual intermediate outcomes like increased confidence or knowledge in a particular skill for your employees. And how those, of course, in turn contribute to some long-term goal that you might have around sustained employment for a certain group of individuals that you are trying to employ in your impact business, or help them reach economic stability. And we know, and we dive into this in detail, and please, we encourage you to watch that video. What makes the Theory of Change framework so effective is that it challenges us to think and to identify the gaps, the assumptions, the many other factors that exist in order for our business to actually operate and for the impact to actually be reached. And so it is a powerful tool. And in parallel to actually figuring out our internal impact pathway, is to really look at global tools and frameworks that we want to align with if impact is important to us. Tools like the UN Sustainability Development Goals, the SDGs, they help us frame our work within a global context. And as we know, the SDGs are this shared blueprint for addressing some of the most pressing challenges in our world. Everything from poverty to climate change to equitable education and employment. And by allowing to align our impact and our impact measurement efforts against these global goals, we're able to actually show other stakeholders, they could be investors, they could be creditors, they could be your customers, how the work we do in our business actually contributes to not just some impact that we've identified, but something that's aligned and contributes to collective global priorities that have been set at the global scale. And so this is important. We love to look at Theory of Change. We love to look how the UN SDGs actually align with that. Those are two great places to start. Look, it's important to balance this quantitative and qualitative set of methods when we actually measure impact. Because we know numbers can actually tell a great amount in terms of progress that we have or are reaching in reaching our impact goals, but they only tell part of the story, right? We need the quantitative and we need the qualitative insights, personal stories, stories from community. They give us the context and the meaning that the numbers are actually trying to share. So they show the human side of impact, and it makes it more relatable and compelling for the various stakeholders that you might have in your vicinity. And this is important. Really think about the numbers and the stories that you want to tell about impact, because that can actually spur the scaling of your impact story and potentially even influence or motivate others to pursue the work of impact as well. Of course, this leads us to the next point that we wanted to really talk about, and that's transparency. Look, impact measurement, as we said, is complex. It deals with a lot of uncertainty and ambiguity, and it depends where you stand in terms of what that impact looks like or actually means. And so transparency is really important in both sharing, your impact measurement philosophy, but also sharing the results of the work that you're doing, and the areas of improvement, because this shows that commitment to impact that you and your team have, and that it's genuine. It's not just some claims you're making to look good or to sell a product. It's really sharing that you're on this path and you're seeing progress in one way or another. It's showing that you're invested in ongoing learning and commitment. And like sustainability in general or impact in general, there's no perfection here, right? It's not about having some perfect impact report or having a perfect impact dashboard on your website or on your product. It's just about being honest and focused around what your progress actually looks like and what it means potentially to the consumer or other stakeholders out there. And that is exciting because this means you can actually invite those stakeholders into your journey and get them excited and interested in this impact pathway. Ultimately, like, measuring impact is complex. Yes, we've said this a lot, but it's an ongoing process, right? It's an ongoing process that everybody's trying to figure out. And it's not about reaching an end point, because when we look at like theory of change and that long-term impact, those are big systems change things. And you might reach them. And if we do, it's going to be amazing. But we need to have continuous refinement in our approaches and reaching the outcomes that we seek, because there's so much impact that happens on the path to that bigger systems change that we've identified. Utilizing tools and frameworks and standards like the theory of change or the UN SDGs are really great starting points to get you jumping off into that impact journey, because they help us focus our efforts and help us focus also our language so that we can share more cohesively with those that are listening to us, our stakeholders, investors, our customers, our team, right? So lots to look at here. Impact is amazing, but it is hard, and it is even harder to measure. And so if you are on the impact journey and you are trying to figure out how to measure your impact, please share your story below. We want to hear from you. In our description, we're going to link to a few of our resources, including the Theory of Change guide, including the links to the UN SDG tools you can utilize, and some of our other videos that we've covered on this topic. Thank you again for watching and for joining this impact journey. We are forever grateful. And if you found this video helpful or valuable, please share, please like, please subscribe to our channel. And we hope to see you in the next video where we're going to be covering business and impact.